Welcome to SDTech, your ultimate guide to tech reviews and tutorials. In this video, I'll be providing you with a step-by-step guide on how to configure a Cisco network. Before we begin, let's take a look into what network devices we are using here. We are using here 4 routers, Cisco's 2911 routers that you can see here under the network devices. Under routers, now we have the 2911. This is what we have set up. Here we are using serial links for demonstrating the WAN networks. So between router Delhi and Mumbai and RT Dubai and London, we are having these serial links in place. We are also using multi-layer switches 3650 on both ends at RT London, at site London and site Delhi. Okay, we'll be using different types of Cisco technologies here to connect through the whole network. We'll be also providing different services like DNS and DHCP plus the web services from these servers here, okay, for to all of the clients that are here. Let's look at a basic thing that what we want to achieve. Let's first set up the routers. Okay, before we begin, let's take few networks here. Let's place some labels here and we will configure the network. So I'm assuming we are using a 17 dot network here, and I'm using a /30 network because I need just 2 IP addresses, IPv4 here. Next, I'll be taking an 18 dot network here, /30, and next I'll be using 19 dot network here, /30. Now, because these two are layer 3 devices, I'll be setting up a link between these two devices. So IP to IP communication will happen in between these layer 3 and the routers here. So I'll be taking 101 dot network here, again /30 I'm using, and I am using here a 102 dot network, again a /30 here. So because it will provide us 2 IP addresses, .1 and .2, so we can use a 1 here on this side and 2 here on this side. So okay, so next case what we have here is, I'll open up my Word file so that you can see it better. So here what I'm going to do is, I'm going to say that what we have the networks, we have the local area networks for respective sites. So the networks I'll be using at site Delhi, I have 4 departments, namely sales, marketing, finance and HR, and I'll be using here 192.168.30 network /24, and I'll be using 192.168.50 network here, again /24, and I'll be using the 70 dot network here, 192.168.70.0 network /24 here. And for HR, I'll be using a local area network as 192.168.80 network here /24. So these PCs here are depicting, so this is the sales PC, marketing PC, finance and HR, and another segment of sales, marketing, finance and HR here. We'll be creating 4 VLANs here, okay, 4 VLANs that can support these 4 different departments, and we'll be allocating the different interfaces to these departments. The IP addresses will be allocated by a DHCP server through a DHCP pool that will be located on the multi-layer switch here. So I'll put it in the Word file. So I'll say all local area networks must get the IP addressing information from the multi-layer switch. Or like in case of multi-layer switch not available, we will be using the router for DHCP server role. Next, after this is done, after all of the sites will function, let's also declare the networks for site Mumbai, Dubai and London. So at site Mumbai, I'll be using 31.network, 51.network for marketing, 71.network for finance and 81.network for HR. At site Dubai, I'll be using 32.network for sales, 52.network for marketing, 72.network for finance and 82.network for HR. At site London, I'll be using 33.network for sales, marketing 53, 73 for finance and 83 for HR. If you look here at our London network, we also have a general DNS server that will serve to all the clients for the DNS resolutions. Now, because it should be accessible from all the departments, it should be on a separate VLAN that I'll be creating here. So we'll create a VLAN 99, but the network that I'll use here is going to be 200.80.90.100. I've already assigned an IP address here. So 200.80.90.100 is the IP address and it will be user /26 network. So I'll write here, it has a general DNS network having 200.80.90.100 and /26 as a subnet here. Okay, so let us also provide the VLANs to these. So guys, I'll be using here for sales, I'll be using a VLAN 30, I'll be using a VLAN 50 for marketing, VLAN 70 for finance and VLAN 80 for HR. Similarly guys, I'll be using here VLAN 31, VLAN 51, VLAN 71, VLAN 81 respectively for different departments at Mumbai. Similarly at site Dubai, I'll be using VLAN 32, VLAN 52, VLAN 72, VLAN 82 here. So I'll be using VLAN 33, VLAN 53, VLAN 73 and VLAN 83 here. For general DNS, I'll be using VLAN 99 here. Okay, so we are using an IPv4 based, the full network is IPv4 based. I am not using IPv6 here at any place. For routing, I'm using the rep protocol to advertise networks, the networks. Along with it, we will also be implementing ACLs here, but that will be the part of the next video. Okay, so let's complete the first set where we will be doing up to the routing process. Along with it, we'll be configuring the different like servers to host their relevant departmental websites plus the general website. So we'll be using www.apple.com as the main website, and that is hosted on 200.80.90.100, and we'll be using sales.apple.com, and that will be having the second IP address of the range of that, and we'll be providing the IP address 192.168.33.2 for sales.apple.com. Similarly, marketing.apple.com will have 192.168.53.2. Similarly, finance.apple.com will have 192.168.73.2. For HR, I'll be using 192.168.83.2 network here. So we'll provide all the DNS related information into the general server, and that will help us resolute from any server, right? We'll be getting the DHCP pools along with the VLANs, the common set that will be common across all the switches. We'll be allocating to sales fast Ethernet 0/1 through 5 ports in the access mode to the sales VLAN. For say marketing VLAN, we'll be using FA 0/6 through 10. We'll be using for finance, let's use FA 0/11 through 13, and we'll be for HR, let's use a couple of ports per switch. For HR, we'll be using FA 0/fast Ethernet 0/14 and 15. So these are the common ports across the switches that I'll be using at all the sites: Delhi, Mumbai, Dubai and London. Now if you look closely here, so I have allocated few ports for the relevant servers as well. So I have allocated here, that is not common amongst all the switches, but just for the switch 1, that is here, the London switch 1. Okay, so let's provide these ports here. So here I have used starting from port number 20, and so port number 20 to 21, 22, 23 and 24 have been used for these servers. So let's allocate these ports here. So FA 0/20 has been allocated to the journal server. FA 21 has been allocated to sales server. Similarly, 22 is allocated to marketing server. '23 has been allocated to the finance server, and FA 0/24 has been allocated to the HR server. Let's now start the configuration. So I have already taken the networks that are in between here, and the rest of the networks have been already available in the Word document. I'll share the Word document along with the this thing. Let's now start the configuration from RT Delhi. So I'll be using my Word file as a notepad or a like script creator tool. So let's start with the configuration for RT Delhi. So I'll make a comment here. So configuration for site Delhi, configuration for RT Delhi. So if we look at Delhi here, we are having a serial 030 port, we need to rename our if I go here, as you can see, the router doesn't have the relevant name, that is the RT Delhi, so we'll do that. Plus we have to configure these interfaces and enable rep on this router for now. So let's go back to our script. So I will say here, enable is the command to enter the privilege mode. Then let's enter the global configuration mode by saying configuration terminal, and then I'll say host name, change the host name to RT Delhi. Once this is done, I'll select the interface serial 030, and if you look at here, because we are using a serial DCE cable here, so we have to provide a clock rate here. So I'm providing the clock rate 128,000. Then I'll provide the IP address. So IP address is going to be on this port, is going to be 17.0.0.1. Why 252? Because it's a /30 network, and /30 translates to 8 plus 8 plus 8 plus 6 bits. That translates into 255.255.252 as the subnet mask for the current network. Then we should no shut this port so that we can activate the link so that our port starts working. By default, all ports on the routers are in a shut state, so that's why no shut will enable that port. Now let's move downwards, and here we are having a 101 dot network. Similarly, I'll say interface GI 0/0 here, and then I will say IP address 101.0.0.2 255.255.252 here, and again I will no shut this port as well. And that's pretty much done on this router. Now let's enable the routing process as well along with this. So I'll say here a router rep. Okay, this enables a rip process on the router. Now because I might be using not the classful networks like /8, /16 or /24, I'm using here /30 networks. So in order to disable the auto summarization, I will say no auto summary command, and then I'll add the networks. Now on this router I am having just couple of networks here, that is 17 dot network and 101 dot network. So I'll add these networks to the networking table. So I'll say one network 17.0.0.0 and network 101.0.0.0, and we'll say do write memory, and that's pretty much done. Let's try to apply this. So copy, and on the Delhi at the user prompt we will say paste. As you can see, we have configured, our hostname has also been changed, and if I hover my mouse here, so you can see both the interfaces have been configured properly. Now let's go ahead and configure the Delhi ML switch 1. Okay, so this is a multi-layer switch 1 that I'll be using. So let's again use the same file, and I'll say here configuration for Delhi multi-layer switch 1. Again enable configuration terminal, same commands, host name, change it to Delhi ML switch 1. Now the first port that I want to configure here is this port. Now by default, even it's a layer 3 switch, we have to enable the layer 3 services here. So first I'll say IP routing command will be given to this switch so that it enables the routing processes and other layer 3 services on this switch. Then because it's a switch, by default all ports are in switch mode, or it's a switch port by default, it cannot accept an IP address. So let's create this port, or let's make this port as layer 3 capable. So what I'm going to say is select that interface GI 101, and then I'm going to say here no switch port command. After that I'm going to provide the IP address, that is going to be IP address 101 .0.0.1 here, because I've taken .2 on this side here at GI00 at RT Delhi. So I'll be using .1 here, and 255.255.255.252 it's a /30 network, and no shut here, although it is in no shut by default, no shut state by default. Now I have to serve these 4 departments here: sales, marketing, finance, and HR here. For that, first I need to create the VTP protocol. I have to configure the VTP protocol so that my VLANs can be served onto these switches here as well. So let's create the VTP. So I'll say VTP mode. This is switch is going to be a server, and then I'm going to say VTP domain Cisco, and VTP password is going to be CCNA. So this setting should be same for all the switches. Just the one change will be these two will be the client switches here. So I will change in these here. We'll say VTP mode client. Now what this does is it automatically advertises the VLANs that we will create here to these switches. So let's say VLAN. Now I'll be using, if you see here in the document, so I have said we will be using VLAN 30, 50, 70 and 80 for sales, marketing, finance and HR. So let's create these. So on the script file I will say VLAN 30 and I will name it Delhi sales, and I will say VLAN 50 and name it Delhi marketing. Then I will say VLAN 70, name Delhi finance. VLAN 80, name Delhi HR. So these VLANs have been created. So this will be these are created here, and now the multi-layer switches do not like allow us to create the sub interfaces here. Like in case of routers, we can create the router on a stick configuration to serve these PCs here. Here we cannot use sub interfaces. What we use is known as the switched virtual interfaces. So these are virtually created with the same name of the VLAN. So here I'll create the virtual interfaces or switched virtual interfaces as interface VLAN 30, and then provide the IP address here, IP address 192.168.30.1 255.255.255.0. that is what corresponds here, 192.168.30.network/24, and the first IP I provided to the gateway. So these virtual interfaces will act like gateways for all of the PCs that are here. Like the sales PC will have a gateway 30.1, similarly the marketing will have a 50.1, finance will have a 70.1, and the HR will have a 192.168.80.1 as their gateway IP addresses. So once this is configured, we will say interface VLAN 50, IP address 192.168.50.1 255.255.255.0. I'll copy these two commands here and I'll paste here again because it's just similar command. So I'll change it to 70.1 for finance and 80 VLAN 80 and 192.168.80.1 for HR. So now these will create our virtual interfaces. Now what we need to do is to configure our DHCP pools. So for creating the DHCP pools, what I'm going to do here is to use these commands. So I'll say IP DHCP pool Delhi sales, and here I'm going to specify that my default router is going to be 192.168.30.1. network I'm going to use is going to be 192.168.30.0, and the subnet mask here or the network length is going to be 255.255.255.0/24. 4 network. After this is done, what I'm going to do is I'm going to declare the DNS server here as well. So DNS server here is going to be, if I go back to this configuration here and I have allocated here, so DNS server or general server here is 200.80.90.100, and this is what I'm going to specify here, 200.80.90.100 as the DNS server. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this pool and I'm going to paste it 3 times. Why? Because we have to create it for one pool for marketing. So for marketing, the network the default router is 50.1. The network we are using is a 50.network/24. The DNS server remains absolutely same. Now at here I'm going to use Delhi finance, and the finance, the network is 70.1 is the gateway, and we are using 70.0 as the network, and DNS is 200.80.90.100. Then we are using here Delhi HR, and we are using here 80.1 as the default router gateway, 80.0 as the network, and DNS network is this one. Once this is done, now we need to configure the RIP routing here. So we will say router RIP version 2 no auto summary command to disable the auto summarization, so as it will be able to support the classless networks. So here what networks do we have? We have a network here that is 101.0.0.30. So I'm going to say 101.0.0.0/30 network. So I'm going to use the network IDs of the same. So next we have the 4 networks that are here, 30, 50, 70 and 80. So I'm going to say 192.168.30.0, network 192.168.50.0. I'm going to say network 192.168.70.0 and network 192.168.80.0, and then I'm going to say do write memory here. One command might be needed here, is just so here I'm also going to say interface GI 102, and I'm going to say here switch port mode trunk. That's it. We'll be using the trunk mode here because multiple VLANs have to communicate here, and it is connected to a networking device as well. So let's now copy and paste this configuration and see the result. Copy and let's paste here on the multi-layer switch. Add the user prompt, paste it. So there are no errors here, as you can see. So absolutely fine. So we can check by just hovering our mouse here, pointer here. So you can see I have allocated to GI 101, 101.0.0.1. Perfect. VLAN 30, 50, 70 and 80 have received their relevant IP addresses as 30.1, 1 into 168.30.1, 50.1, 70.1 and 80.1 addresses have been assigned. Now let's configure these 2 switches here. We already know which ports do we need to provide to our different departmental PCs here. Okay, so let's look at the configuration for these 2 switches. So that is Delhi switch 1 and Delhi switch 2. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to say configuration for Delhi switch 1 and enable configuration terminal and change the host name again to Delhi switch 1. By default, the name of a switch is just a switch. Now we'll say look at these 2 ports, GI0/1 and GI0/2. These 2 ports, because these are connected to the networking devices, it will carry multiple VLAN traffic. So we need to convert these 2 ports into the trunk mode here. So let's do that. So we will say here interface range, because I'm selecting two ports, GI 1 0/1 and 2, from 1 to 2. Switch port mode trunk. Once this is done, so both the ports will be converted into the trunk mode. Now let's configure our VTP protocol here. So VTP mode client, VTP domain Cisco, VTP password is going to be CCNA, and we are done. So we'll be able to receive our VLANs from above. Now let's allocate the access ports so that we can serve our client PCs. So I've already written here which ports we need to provide. So I'm providing here sales FA 0/1 through 5, marketing 6 through 10, finance 11 to 13, and HR 14 to 15 for these switches. So let's do this configuration. So I'm going to say here, I'm going to select the interfaces first. So interface FA, interface range FA 0/fast Ethernet 0/1 through 5, switch port mode access, and switch port access VLAN 30. Now I'm going to just copy this command, these three commands from here, and paste it 3 times, and I'm going to say here FA 0/6 through 10 is allocated to VLAN 50, that is marketing. Similarly, we will be using 11 through 13 for VLAN 70, that is finance, and then I'm going to say we will be using 14 and 15 ports have been allocated to VLAN 80, that is the HR VLAN. So after this is done, I'm going to say do write memory. Copy this thing and let's paste it here. So as you can see, I've configured this thing. So even if you hover your mouse here, you can see the relevant ports have been allocated to their respective VLANs. Now let's configure switch 2. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this whole configuration from here, because the configuration is going to be quite similar to this very switch. And I'm going to say here configuration for Delhi switch 2. Host name is Delhi switch 2. Interface is GI0. Just a single port is here, so I will not be allocating 2 ports, just a single port. So I'm going to say interface GI0/1 has been put to trunk because it is connected to another switch. So VTP mode client, domain Cisco, and password CCNA. Interface range FA 0/1 through 5 is allocated to VLAN 30, 6 to 10 is allocated to VLAN 50, 11 to 13 is allocated to VLAN 70. Next 14 and 15 have been allocated to VLAN 80. Now let's copy this thing and let's paste it here. Just fast forward a bit so as to see whether our clients have received the IP addresses or not. So I'll go to the desktop, IP configuration. As you can see here, 32.2 has been allocated. Now one thing that I want here is that the first 5 IP addresses should be allocated to our should be reserved for servers and routers and so on. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to paste here at the Delhi ML switch 1. I'm going to enter extra commands here. So here I'm going to say after my pools are ended here, so I'm going to provide the excluded addresses. So I will say IP DHCP excluded addresses range from 192.168.30.1 to 192.168.30.5. I'm going to copy this command, and now let's configure the same command for marketing, finance, and HR as well. So I'm going to say here 40.1, 50.1, 50.1, 70.1, 80.1, and here I'm going to say 31.1 to 30.5, 50.1 to 50.5. So this is going to reserve these IP addresses and will not be allocated from the pool to the client PCs. 80.5. So I'm going to copy these commands and go to our multi-layer switch, and here I'll say at the config level I'm going to paste these commands. Done. And after that I'll say do write memory to permanently save the configuration, and now all I need to do here is IP configuration, static, and click on DHCP again, and now you will see 30.6 has been allocated and relevant DNS information is available to us. Similar will be the case on these PCs here. All right, so it is going to be 50.6. so I'm going to say desktop IP configuration. So see, 50.6 has been allocated. Similarly, finance, .6. So we've got the IP addresses from our 4 pools, so absolutely working fine. I'm going to try to ping this point so as to see whether our network is working up properly up to this point. So this point here is GI 0/0, and that has an IP address 101.0.0.2. So I'll be using from this PC, I'm going to say at the command prompt, I'll be using ping tool or ping command to check that IP address for connectivity of that point. So 101.0.0.2, let's wait for a bit. So as you can see, we are receiving the reply. So our routing and the whole information, the whole configuration is successful, right? This concludes part 1 of the Cisco network configuration. Part 2 will be uploaded soon. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to SDTechX for more tech related tutorials and content. Thank you. See you soon. Peace.